So every time that I put up a video for the week, I also put up a poll over in the community tab, which there, of course, will be one after this video goes up. So make sure to check that. But you guys get to choose what happens for the next week's videos. And y'all chose violence. I appreciate it. I like it. I respect it. And you know, violence is what you chose. Violence is what you're gonna get. We're over in the comfy area on the couch for this one, as this is more relaxed than would be for normal. See, when I say y'all chose violence, y'all want something from me. Originally, this was voted as top 15 top games, but it's been changed over. Because now, with Estelle right here to be all up in everything, as the good girl that she is. Oh, such a good girl. Yes, she is. You know, she's trying to run away. Yeah. It's now going to be top 20 of my favorite games. Now, this is not the all-time great games. In fact, some of these might end up on some people's worst games of all time. I don't think so, but, you know, some people will definitely be shocked by a couple of these. But these are games that I keep coming back to. These are games that I would recommend to somebody if they ask for a recommendation. These are my 20 favorite games. Now, remember, these are my favorites. This is one man's opinion. Your favorite games are maybe different. There might be some that you're shocked that aren't on here. But it's a real possibility I may never have even played the game. And not saying that as a bad way. There's just so many games in my backlog. There's so NES games that I haven't played at 40 years old. So, just because a game's not on here, doesn't mean that I think it's crap or I don't love it. It could be I never played it, or it could be that I really like it, but it just didn't hit that note that it needs to hit to become one of my favorites, to knock one of these off the list. So, go ahead and let me know what your favorite game is, or what you think of these picks. Drop it in the comments, and I don't know, maybe we get a conversation going. Never know. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Number 20, Fling Smash. Now, this may seem a very random choice, and it might be a game you've never heard of. But this is a game that me and my wife picked up many years ago at a local Big Lots. And the reason we picked it up was not because of the game. It was because it was bundled with a Wii Remote Plus, or however it was pronounced back then, whatever they actually called it. The Wii Plus, Motion Plus, Remote. Yeah, that thing. We picked it up because it was like 20, might have even been $30, but the remote by itself, the Motion Plus thing, was like $50. So I was like, okay, we get the remote, we get the game, sure. And the game looked decent enough. It looked cute, which of course with my wife, it only just has to be cute. But it turned out to be so much fun. What you do is you use the Wiimote to flick these little creatures, and they just go pinball against walls. They bounce into everything, and you clear levels that way. It's a load of fun. It's really good for short sessions, or to unwind after a day, or even if you got some frustration you need to get out, just fling that paddle extra hard and just watch the Fling Smash fly. Probably one of my favorite random picks that have ever happened. And if you know me, there's a lot of random games that I've bought over the years. And this is definitely my favorite of it. And actually, it's my favorite game on the Wii. Number 19, Kickle Cubicle. Well, as you've already been able to figure out, this is not going to be a normal list. And this is not going to be the normal way that I explain the games. But see, Kickle Cubicle is a puzzle-solving powerhouse to me. This game is the originator of my love of puzzle games. It is one of my favorite titles on the NES. I used to have an entire spiral notebook, like 5 or 6 pages full of codes for each stage that I cleared. Back in the day when, we actually had codes for stages and items and extra stuff that we had to actually write down in order to continue. But let me tell you, it's not just an easy game. There is some serious challenge to it. Because as you keep going through the different parts of the kingdom, the puzzles get harder. And there are some really annoying enemies to deal with. But this game would have been on my NES Hidden Gems, but because it is one of my favorites, we have it here. But this is definitely a hidden gem. If you have not played this yet, you really need to. This is one of the best puzzle games of all time. I will die on that hill. You cannot get me to say otherwise. It's a great game, and I love it. Number 18, Pokemon. Okay, you got me. It's not a game, it's a series. But you see, I just can't pick my favorite Pokemon game. Because each of them have so much in common, but also each of them has such difference that's minute. And I mean, the story's never been good. Yeah, fight me on that. The story's always been garbage. But you don't play Pokemon games for the story. You play it to catch the monsters, to fight in the battles. The story's secondary. Maybe even, I don't know what, third-dairy would it be called? I don't know. I've never heard anyone say that before. But anyway, the story doesn't matter. So whether it's been the days with Squirtle, Mudkip, Piplup, as you can tell, I prefer the water types. Or whether it's been the more current ones with Grookey and the Scorbunny. Which, yes, I did switch over and use Scorbunny as one of my Pokemon, but that's because I got it in a trade. Which, by the way, the current gen stuff, being able to do the magic trades like that, oh my goodness, the Pokemon that I picked up for when I was playing Sword and Shield, I should not have been able to do it. I swear there were some hack Pokemon in there, but I didn't care. I didn't use them, but I liked having the collection. I like actually trying to catch them all if I possibly can. But yeah, I love the Pokemon series, and I can't pick just one. Number 17, Tekken 7. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to act like I'm a fighting game pro or anything, but, throw some Tekken on and you got me hooked. Now, I haven't yet been able to play Tekken 8 other than the demo, and I love the demo, but Tekken 7 is my jam. It is, I think, the best Tekken that had come out since Tekken 3. And that's even without it having Tekken Force. Give us a single Tekken Force game by itself. Come on, Baba, you freaking coward. But anyway, Tekken 7 is great. There's just something about pulling off combos and being able to read opponents and make them miss and do stupid things that just feels good. As well as being able to beat everyone up using Asuka. It's just fun times. Now, I know people will be like, the ultimate thing is Street Fighter versus Tekken over the years. And while I love my Street Fighter, and Street Fighter 6 is damn good, and screw you so Street Fighter 5, but yeah, Tekken takes the cake for me. Bar none, it's Tekken all the way. Number 16, Vampire Survivors. Well, what can I say? But this game is crack. This is like crack cocaine as a video game. There are so many games that are trying to mimic what Vampire Survivors have done with their own variations to varying degrees of success. But Vampire Survivors is the game. If you have not played this yet, please pick it up on wherever you want to. It's everywhere. I think it's like $4 or $5. I have put hours and hours and hours into this, both on the Xbox and on the PC. Simply because I haven't bought it on either any other shop. But I think it's still on Game Pass too. So if you got that, you can pick it up. I will say trying to play it on phone is difficult because I don't like touch controls. But yeah, you don't actually do much of anything. Your goal is to run around and try to survive. Get all types of cool power-ups as you go to try to help you survive. As the name is, Vampire Survivors, you are trying to survive. And going from having a weak little whip to having a holy book and garlic just running around you and lightning and all types of other cool stuff going on screen. There's nothing like it. I don't care what the people who try to mimic it have. There is nothing like it, and it's nothing but a good time. It is great for short bursts, and like I said, it's basically gaming crack. Number 15, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE. Now, you might notice I don't say Encore, because I haven't played the Switch version. I played the original on the Wii U. Yes, I know I'm like one of 7 people that had a Wii U. Ha 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 ha. But imagine if someone told you that they were going to mix Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem. You'd think you'd get something really dark and nasty and just gruesome and kick ass, right? And then what if what you got instead was something that was a love letter to idol culture and J-pop? Yeah. There's a lot of people who completely signed off away from this game simply because of it wasn't what they were expecting and the idol culture part. But this is a really, really good turn-based RPG. You're set in modern day Tokyo. You're not in the past, you're not in the future. And for once, something with Shin Megami Tensei, the world has not been destroyed. Well, yet anyway. You're trying to keep it from being destroyed. The shadows, or whatever they were called, mirages, shadows, yeah. There's my Shin Megami Tensei part right there, Persona. But they've been invading and stealing people's creative energy, which they call Performa. Their special partners are called Mirages, which are basically magical versions of Fire Emblem characters. So there's what Fire Emblem comes in. But the Shin Megami Tensei part is the battle system. You have all of your standard weaknesses and I think it's referred to as the rock, paper, scissors system. Yeah, that's there. And aside from the fact that it does go into idol culture a lot, but the special moves all include a performance. And there's just something really cool about that. Also, I played this game while I was recovering from a dislocated shoulder, and the Wii U gamepad was the only controller I could hold at the time. So, yeah, it has that little special place because of that, but it's really fun. And I think more people should play it, whether it's the original Wii U version or the Switch port, which added a couple of playable characters and a bunch of other cool stuff to it. And I should probably get to at some point. Number 14, Hyperdimension Neptunia, the OG version on the PS3. Look, if you do not know Hyperdimension Neptunia, you need to. It is the ultimate in fourth wall breaking humor. They are completely joke-filled JRPGs, and when I say joke-filled, I mean they're constantly making jokes at themselves for the most part. There's a couple jabs at the industry as a whole, because it's kind of, I guess we'd say kind of a roast of, or a love letter to the gaming industry as a whole, because each of the goddesses are named after, well, not named after, but represent a different console. And that feature keeps going throughout the entire series. Now, the reason it's the PS3 version versus the remake of that's been put out pretty much everywhere since is, well, truthfully, I haven't played any of the remake versions. I've only played the original because I love the original. Why am I gonna play something that changes stuff around? Because I didn't have an issue. I know there are people who do have issues with some of the stuff that was in it and the way that different mechanics worked and such, but not me. To me, it's awesome. And the voice actress for Neptune, I really couldn't see anyone else playing that role. She is amazing in it. And it's one of my favorite franchises. Partially because of her. Number 13, Rainbow Moon and Rainbow Skies. Okay, I know I did it again, but hear me out. There's a reason why there are both of these games listed in this slot. Rainbow Moon may just be one of the most overlooked hits, at least to me it was a hit, on the PS3. It was picked up on a whim as a game that was just supposed to tide me over until something else came out that I was looking forward to. And it ended up controlling a lot of my time and absolutely loved every minute of it. Rainbow Skies was the sequel to it. And I actually did a review for Rainbow Skies where you can learn more about it as my first video I ever put on this channel many years ago. I'll put a link up above the wherever we are right now, so you can check that out too. But these are kind of unique in their battle system, I think. They are turn-based. It blends a bit of strategy in there and a load of humor. It doesn't take itself too seriously, which is great. And both games were recently re-released on the Nintendo Switch. So now they're officially everywhere. Number 12, Guided Fate Paradox. Now you'll notice in the last entry, I did not say that Rainbow Moon was my favorite PS3 game. That would be because Guided Fate Paradox holds that title. I have one issue and one issue alone with Guided Fate Paradox. It has the greatest opening song that I have ever heard in a video game, and it's not on the official soundtrack. That's my issue with it. But this game has a unique sense of humor. It's halfway mystery dungeon style. It's roguelike. And the whole thing is you randomly win the lottery to become God. And now you have to play God and stop the underworld from coming and destroying heaven and the rest of the world. And each level is played out as part of it. So you have a little bit of story in between, which is done visual novel style. But overall, it is a great game. It is, there's some great battle cries when some of the enemies die. My wife swears one of them says coffee, and the way they do it, she has kept for 9 years now since I played it. So she swears when an enemy dies, they go, coffee! So she doesn't say coffee anymore. She says, coffee! I know, it's weird. My wife is weird sometimes. But yeah, it's a great game. If you can find it, play it. I think it's on, I think it's streamable. If you have the highest level of PlayStation Plus, where you can stream the PS3 games, I believe it's part of that. Number 11, Super Mario Bros. 3. Super Mario Bros. 3. This game is like that comfy old blanket that you can't sleep without. It's a classic for a reason. Yeah, it is. This game was played so much in my childhood. It is peak Nintendo. And I honestly think it is the best Mario game of all time. And yeah, I've played Super Mario Wonder. I still think 3 is better. Now that may be my nostalgia goggles, but to me, that game still holds up today. You can put someone in front of Super Mario Bros. 3 and you could say it was a new Mario released on the Switch and they'd believe you. It is one of the greatest games of all time, no question. It's a timeless adventure that never gets old, no matter how many times you play it. And honestly, without it, who knows how many games we wouldn't have, because that game inspired a lot of things that have existed over the years. And yeah, that's probably the greatest platformer to ever exist. All right, now we are halfway through. And I hope y'all have enjoyed stuff so far. I know this is a lot different than my normal videos and how I normally would explain games and talk about them. Talking more about why I love them and little nuggets of lore here and there. But, you know, let me know in the comments if you got anything that you're wondering why it's there and would like some more info on. Or if you just want to, you know, talk crap about me because I didn't have God of War on here or something. Or Magical Drop 3 or something. Which, yeah, Magical Drop 3 is a great game. But, yeah. Alright, let's go ahead and get back. Get the front half of the top 20 favorite games of all time, AzureTony style. Number 10, Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. Now, this technically was my first ever Metroidvania. Because we don't count the original Metroid on NES, which I couldn't understand how to play as a child and felt like I had wasted money renting it. But this game opened up the entire Metroidvania genre to me. Directly after this, I played the game which it was inspired from, which is Symphony of the Night on the PlayStation 1. This game is a love letter to the genre. This was part of a crowdfunding campaign, if I remember correctly. And as long as you're not playing the Switch version, unless they actually went back and fixed that, which I have no idea if they did or didn't, this game is amazing. The combat is brutal. It has a lot of creepy elements, which I don't normally like. But somehow in video games, I tend to, as long as it's not exactly a horror game. It's weird like that. But there's just something satisfying about the genre, about this game in particular. And you kind of get immersed. You're pulled in. There's storytelling to it. It's not just destroy this enemy and keep going. There's actual story behind it. And some of the boss battles are freaking insanely hard. Like, oh my God, why? But this was my entry into the Metroidvania genre. And if you've never played one, maybe it can be yours too. Number 9, the Atelier Iris Trilogy. Ah, Tony, you done it again. Yep, I done it again. You see, I can't separate the games of this trilogy and can only think of it as a whole. Partially because I played them back to back to back when I initially played through them back in 2010? It was either 2010 or 2011. I can't remember exactly where it fell, but it was during one of the end of 2010 or the beginning of 2011. And my wife will forever refer to them as the game in which you go, barrel! Because, well, it's an Atelier game. You have to say barrel when you find a barrel. But you don't do a barrel roll. Do a barrel roll! No. There's sometimes when barrels will roll, but that's a different thing entirely. These, unlike modern Atelier games, are more traditional turn-based RPGs. There is alchemy involved, there is levels of magic involved, but the way it's done is a lot different than what is done more modern times. To the point where when Atelier Verona came out, I was annoyed because I was expecting what I had just dealt with Iris a couple years earlier. And going into that game, that time system messed with me. It really did. Number 8, Kirby's Adventure. First you draw a circle, and then you dot the I's, add a great big smile, and presto, it's Kirby. Now, if you said that along with me or knew what I was about to say, then you have paid a little too much attention to the opening of Kirby's Adventure. Much like I did as a child because, well, it's unskippable. There was no such thing as skipping back then. And Kirby's Adventure is one hell of a game. It is fun, it is relaxing, and it is the game in which Kirby, as we know him today, existed. In the original one on the Game Boy, Kirby's Dream Land, he did not have the ability to get powers from the enemies. The first time that was introduced was in Kirby's Adventure on the NES, which the most satisfying power is still the laser or the UFO. The UFO was pretty fun. There were a lot of times where that was a bad power to have, but it was fun. But you always got to go with the sword. You always got to go with what eventually became Link Kirby. There's many things online. Much lore has been made about that variation of Kirby when he swallows the sword man and somehow, coughs up the sword to put in his hand. and all of a sudden learns how to somersault like he couldn't do it 5 seconds before. But yeah, I never said it made sense, but it's Kirby. Kirby has never made sense, but it's made fun. Sometimes made fun of, but it's enjoyable fun that if you have never played, no matter how you get to enjoy it, you should give it a shot. I love Kirby. This is the game that really did it for me and made me a ginormous Kirby fan, even though I loved Kirby Dream Land. But this is the one that really did it for me. Number 7, Shin Megami Tensei 5. Now, I realize this will probably get replaced with Shin Megami Tensei 5 Revengeance in about a month's time, but as of right now, the only thing that exists is the original. And Atlas, screw you. I bought the Nintendo Switch because you put this as a title that was coming for it in the initial presentation of the Nintendo Switch when it was unveiled. I didn't realize I'd have to wait 6 years. 6 freaking years for it to come out. Don't do that again. But I'll tell you this. Was it worth the wait of those 6 years? Yes, it was. Because, well, I love the Shin Megami Tensei franchise. And without it, or, without the original Megami Tensei before Shin Megami Tensei was made, we wouldn't have Pokemon. Without Pokemon, there's a load of other games that wouldn't be made. But it goes back to Megami Tensei on the Famicom. If you don't believe me, look it up. But Shin Megami Tensei 5 has the best fusion sequence in any of the games. Whether Shin Megami Tensei or the spin-off Persona, which, yes, Persona, if you did not know, is a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei series. Now, with Shin Megami Tensei 5 coming out with its updated version Vengeance in June, it may move up this list. But what matters more is more people will get the opportunity to play this. This is a great turn-based RPG with the classic system of Atlas and a battle system that I absolutely love, with enhancements. The Nahiho, I think it's called, or maybe my brain's mixing two things, but the thing you get to transform into with post-apocalyptic Tokyo, because, well, it's a Shin Megami Tensei game, there's gonna be a post-apocalyptic Tokyo. It always is. It's a thing. It's a pattern. And just the fusing, as opposed to becoming part demon, becoming part, well, I won't spoil it for you, but it's really cool. The story's actually pretty decent, which you can't always say for the Shin Megami Tensei games, but the voice acting's top notch, and the demons look amazing. And once again, that fusion sequence. The fusion sequence is everything. Number 6, Persona 5 Royal. Or is it Persona 5 The Royal? I keep forgetting if they tried to add that random extra the in there for no apparent reason. But the enhanced version of Persona 5, which is a game that I constantly say took a game that I really had no reason to buy. It took a month of my life that I never want to get back. Now, the reason I say I had no reason to buy the original Persona 5 is my only connection to Persona up to that point was a little time in Persona 3, which I stopped because of the fatigue system. Years later, that stopped me from playing Persona 3 yet again because I got annoyed at the fatigue system live on stream. Sorry, Derek, if you're watching. But I have gone back and played the Persona 3 Reload, and without the fatigue system, it's a great game. Not as good as Persona 5 Royal, though. Because this is like, I don't know how to say anything else other than masterpiece. The storytelling they wove for this, the voice acting, the people that they picked to do that, the art, the challenge, the everything. This is definitely not just one of the greatest RPGs of all time. This is definitely one of the greatest games of all time. There's nothing that can be said other than it's a masterpiece. And the soundtrack, the music composition for this game is amazing. I know you've not heard me say anything about the music composition for any other game up to this point, because it's not something I typically talk about. Because to me, it's more of a backdrop in the setting and feeling than anything else that it creates. I don't really sit down listening to music like that from different video games, but the Persona 5 soundtrack's on my Spotify. That's all I'm saying. But again, it's the standard turn-based combat. Instead of having yourself as having different demons next to you, you have actual party members. And the only thing Persona 3 has over Persona 5 is Kuromaru, the good boy, good doggy, is part of the party. There's no dogs part of the party in Persona 5. Although there's one dog who I still say would eat Kuromaru for lunch, but we'll get to that in a little bit. All right, we're almost at the end. And you know there's got to be a few twists in here still, right? It's got to be at least one classic. There's got to be at least one. Well, you'll see. Stay tuned for the final 5. At number 5, Golden Axe. I'm sure you're saying to yourself that there must be better beat 'em up games or just better games in general than Golden Axe that could be here. Well, you're right. There are other games that could be here. However, this game is here for a very personal reason. You see, when I was growing up, I was raised by my grandparents until they passed when I was young. And my grandfather would take me with him on the paper route he ran, would take me with him in the van. And on Saturday mornings, when we were done, he would give me enough money to get him a coffee, black. He didn't mess with sugar or creamer, at least from 7-Eleven. A king cone ice cream cone, because that's great to give a child at 7 in the morning. And give me enough money to have a quarter left over for Golden Axe, which was the arcade machine inside of the 7-Eleven. I loved it. It was my entry really into the beat 'em up genre, because before that I'd only played Double Dragon and I wasn't even aware there were other games like it. So it opened a whole new world to me of games that I absolutely love. And I have beaten Golden Axe multiple times. Every year on my grandfather's birthday for the past 20 some odd years, I have gone back and played it. He died 30 years ago, but well, I couldn't exactly control what I could play until later, a couple years later in life. But yeah, so not to bring anybody down with that, but the game just has a real emotional connection to me. It just hits on that emotional note that it just can't be topped. And that gives you some idea what we're looking at with this last 5. Number 4. Tie. Yes. There's a tie. But it's a tie within a series. Because I have gone back and forth for the past 6 to 9 months and tried to decide which one was going to take this spot, because for years Final Fantasy VI held this. But recently Final Fantasy XVI has come for the crown. It's taken a shot at the king, and the results are still undetermined. Final Fantasy VI may be one of the greatest stories ever told within a game. I don't think I'm spoiling this for anyone out there, and if I am, I'm sorry. This is the only time where you beat the bad, and the bad guy somehow wins at the end. You win. You win the battle. You've done everything, and the bad guy still manages to win. They get what they want. Not just that, but I mean, dude suplexes a mother flipping train. He suplexed a mother flipping train, man. But then you have Final Fantasy 16. And it's gorgeous. And the voice acting for Sid is just, I mean, that dude is gotten all the love since it came out. He is just great. He makes that character. And that character makes the first part of the game. The story behind Final Fantasy 16, how they weave it, and you notice I'm starting to talk more about the story with the younger sibling and what happens, because I'm not spoiling that part. That's a major part of the story. And then with the ability to turn into Ifrit, I mean, it's going to become iconic. The "Come to me, Ifrit" is going to become iconic. And I know I just said that I did that horribly. I could do that better, but I don't want to blow out the microphone. And the combat is so good. It's so smooth. And it comes really close to being my favorite action RPG of all time. Versus a game that comes really close to being my favorite turn-based RPG of all time. And I just can't decide between the number 2s who should hold that crown for the number 4 spot. They're both great games for different reasons, and I just can't choose. Let me know which one you choose down in the comments below. Please help me make that choice. At number 3, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. This game, well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. This game is the best game in the Zelda franchise. Fight me. Ocarina of Time, great game. But that camera makes me want to throw up. It's hindered by the fact that it was on Nintendo 64. Breath of the Wild, I can't deny that it's a good game. I can't sit here and say it's not, because I would be lying to you. But it it doesn't feel like Zelda to me. You know, it feels more like Western Zelda. And I've never been able to get past that part. You know, I'm not going to sit here and go, hashtag not my Zelda. But hashtag not my Zelda. But Link to the Past had an interesting story. And it had the beginning of the collect 3 to unlock 8. He turned into a bunny at a point. And the combat in there was so smooth. You can beat the game. There's a way to beat the game in like 10 seconds that I still haven't pulled off myself, but it exists out there and I've seen plenty of people pull it off. And just every part of it is iconic. Plus, it was the first game that I ever borrowed from my former best friend. And it's also the first game I ever bought with my own money for the Super Nintendo. From a pawn shop for $10 back in 1998. Because, yeah, it happened like that. And I wish to this day I still had that cartridge, but, well, yeah, that's a big F you to my uncle. Not going to go into that, but that's a big F you to my uncle. But A Link to the Past is the best Zelda game. Heck, I played a randomizer of it on stream a couple years ago. Granted, that was because I was called out on a bluff of what I would charge for it. But, and somebody donated the money calling my bluff. Because I had never done a randomizer. And I beat it. I got a good seed. But the game is just so good. It's like that well-worn sweater you can't get rid of. You know it's old. You know that you have like 4 new ones that aren't as used. But it just feels so comfortable. It's the one that you know is just never going to be replaced. Number 2, Dragon Quest XI. Now, it's confession time. I had never really played a Dragon Quest until Dragon Quest XI. I know, the guy who technically still has the sub-name of the XXL Otaku had not played a Dragon Quest, the grandfather of all JRPGs. But, well, Dragon Quest XI came along and it was so beautiful, I had to play it. Plus, it was at the start of me doing YouTube and Twitch. And, well, I had to hop on what was, you know, the new hotness, right? That's how it works, right? But, that didn't work out too well for me overall with my health. But that's a different story for a different time. Playing Dragon Quest XI worked out great. It was a lot of fun, especially when I was doing it on Twitch. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of good people that came out to hang out and talk to me, and some would give me hints when I asked for them. A couple tried to give me hints when I wasn't trying to ask for them. I hate backseat gaming. Let me figure shit out. But like, Dragon Quest XI is pure turn-based goodness. It's cut and dry. You don't have to worry about affinities. You don't have to worry about weaknesses or things being like impenetrable. It's comfort food for the gamer soul. It's a mix of classic mechanics and modern sensibilities. There's like a fairy tale that unfolds in the way the story goes. It hooks you and just keeps you there. It's like reading a bedtime story when you're a child. You're just stuck. Like the first time you read whatever your favorite book is. For me, it probably would be the first time I ever read The Fellowship of the Ring. Back in 9th grade. Wow, that was forever ago. I feel old now. Well, I am old, but that's beside the point. But Dragon Quest XI is my favorite turn-based RPG of all time. It's just comfy and fun and just hits different than anything else. It just hits you like, it just hits that fun sensor. Because everybody's got a fun sensor. You may not realize it, but you have a fun sensor. And hopefully we're hitting it right now. But, yeah. Dragon Quest XI may just be the best turn-based RPG of all time. And I'm not afraid to say it. If you disagree with me, that's fine. Tell me what you think the best turn-based RPG of all time is. Let's conversate. Because I'd be curious to see what you think. Alright, now anyone who knows me knows what's coming. My number one game of all time, which happens to be my favorite action RPG of all time, which happens to be home to the best dog of all time in a video game. Who could I be talking about? I'm talking about Rapide, mofo. I'm talking about Tales of Vesperia. Vespi. The greatest game of all time. It holds a special place in my heart. I really can't even sit here and tell you exactly what made me hold this so close to my heart. It's something that hits. It just hits deep in my soul. It came at a time in my life in which I actually identified really hard with Yuri, the main character. Hell, I love this game so much, my cat is named after the female protagonist, Estelle. She's named Estelise, okay? And she is a little freaking brat, just like Estelle in the game. Just like Princess Estelle. Oh, sorry. Oops. Drop that little spoil. You find it out in like the first 15 minutes of the game. It's not really that big of a thing. But it's not the best game. Let me make that very clear. There are flaws within this game. It is not the best game of all time. It is my favorite game of all time. And it has extremely satisfying real-time combat. As long as you're not facing Gusion, that battle can go somewhere. Now, that when they released the definitive edition, I saw the tree, I heard the song. There were tears in my eyes of joy at the Xbox conference at E3 the year that it was announced the definitive edition was being released. I love this game so much that on our first Valentine's together, my wife gave me the Japanese import PS3 version of this game, which is still sealed, by the way. Because even though I wanted to play it, it meant so much to me that I just couldn't bear to open it. That's the greatest gift that she has given me, aside from agreeing to be my wife. But Tales of Vesperia is a roller coaster of emotions. There's some humor. There's a ton of action. There's the standard Tales twist, which this one you won't see coming. There's sometimes you can tell what's going to happen. This one you won't see coming. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of the Patty character that was added in. Just want to say that. I don't like Patty. I don't like the playstyle that she runs. I don't like her story. I don't. Flynn, I'm good with. Glenn's cool. I wish he was into the game for a lot longer than he actually is, but there's just something about Tales of Vesperia, and I could go on ad nauseum about Tales of Vesperia. And anytime someone asks me what game should they play or what they should pick up, if they like RPGs or action games, my first go-to is always Tales of Vesperia. There are plenty of people who I know through either YouTube or Twitch that I have been begging for years to play Vespi, that I have gifted Vespi to, because they say they're going to play it. Some of them have come back as like, it's a good game. I can see why you like it. I've played better, but I'm like, that's fine. I never said it was the best. I just said it was my favorite. There are other Tales games that are better than it. There are other games that are better than it. But that's my favorite one. And Rapide could eat frickin' Koromaru. By the time he's trying to cast Death or Mudan or something, Koromaru would have his throat sliced and him frozen in place before he could cast a damn thing. Fight me. All right, now that is the top 20 favorites of AzureTony. And I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around for this. It's a lot different format than it normally is. There's normally a lot more composure. This was entirely off the cuff. There is no script for this. I didn't mention that at first, but yeah, there is no script. This is just me talking about games that I love. And let me know what you love. Because I always want to find more games. I always want to find more fun. Because it's all about fun. It's all about finding the fun in gaming. That's what I'm all about. That's not just a tagline for the channel. That's what I'm about. Finding the fun in gaming, because gaming is meant to be fun. Because if you're not having fun, what's the point of it? It's entertainment. It's a medium to enjoy oneself, to break away from reality sometimes. It's supposed to be fun. And yes, I'm going to get right up on you. But, yeah. Thank you guys and gals and those who identify as neither. This has been AzureTony. Today, we definitely found some fun in gaming. And I hope you enjoyed yourselves too. Make sure to go vote in that poll. And take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I'll catch you next time. Arigatou gozaimasu.